Origins is a new documentary film about the origins of human beings. It was brought to our attention by a good friend. We were a little skeptical, however, because we've watched hundreds of documentaries over the years, consider ourselves documentary buffs, always keeping abreast of the latest releases, and yet we hadn't heard of it ourselves. We usually eagerly anticipate the release of documentaries that seek to unveil the truth about our world, such as Cowspiracy, Species is in the Movie, Lucent, and others, and yet this one had not come up on our radar. And after watching it, we now know why. Origins is just another cleverly crafted, smokescreens and mirrors, propagandistic, advertisement-style documentary that we would have once fallen for. In fact, when we were new to the health industry, we were guilty of recommending such documentaries to others ourselves. This documentary, however, is perhaps the most dangerous of all in terms of the number of humans and animals that could be killed and the amount of environmental destruction it will cause if people follow its advice. This is because it advocates the most popular fad diet on the planet right now, the Paleo diet, a diet based around eating animal products. The film begins with an introduction from Dr. Pedram Sojai, the producer of Origins and founder of the health website well.org, who ironically looks anything but a picture of wellness with his sickly pale skin colour and large dark circles under his eyes from thrashing his cortisol levels by eating animal products. He makes out that he's giving away the film for free when really it's just a cleverly disguised advertisement for the low-carb, paleo, primal and raw food supplement industries. He claims that humans became as smart as we did because we ate fish, and omega-3 essential fatty acids are good for our brains. Let's debunk this myth. Humans are herbivores designed to only eat plants. How do we know this? Because our leading cause of death is heart disease, which is caused by dietary cholesterol, which is only found in animal products like fish. If we were designed to eat animal products, they wouldn't be our leading cause of death. Yes, omega-3s are required for healthy brain function, and that's why they are found in human foods, that is, plants. After all, that's where the fish get their omega-3s from too, plants. Humans eat plants from the land where we live, and fish eat plants from the sea where they live. Natasha hasn't eaten seafood since she was 2 years old when it was discovered she was allergic to it, and now at nearly 35 years old, she is one of the most intelligent humans I have ever met. No omega-3 deficiency there. As for the film's various other so-called experts and luminaries, Dave Asprey, founder of the Bulletproof Executive, has diabetes after years of eating the very fatty animal foods that the film promotes, and is also addicted to caffeine and the drug Provigil modafinil, which is like cocaine. David Wolf, or as we like to call him, the wolf in sheep's clothing. Once upon a time we naively viewed him as a visionary, and now whenever we see him featured in a documentary, we know it's going to be just another advertisement from the raw food industry's leading snake oil salesman. The self-proclaimed world's richest hippie profiteers off animal cruelty in the form of deer antler extract. Tom Maltere is author of the Whole Life Nutrition Cookbook, a paleo diet cookbook. Tom, we recommend you read a healthy and cruelty-free recipe book like the Forks Over Knives cookbook. The producers say that the United Nations are getting vocal on climate change and infer that the leading cause is CO2 emissions, when according to the United Nations, it's actually animal agriculture, the very industry the film is promoting. They claim that environmental toxins are predicted to be the leading cause of death by 2050, largely blaming the chemicals in food. Yet 14 of the 15 leading causes of our death right now are scientifically linked to eating animal products, not food chemicals. Alejandro Hunger looks as unhealthy as the filmmaker, with large dark circles under his eyes too. After thrashing his cortisol levels by eating animal foods, he must be doing all his cleansing programs that he is famous for selling. Check out our videos on our extensive negative experiences with fasting and cleansing in the description below. Mark Hyman, author of The Blood Sugar Solution, who looks just as sickly pale and also has large dark circles under his eyes, claims to reverse diabetes with the very diet that causes it in the first place, a high-fat, animal products-based diet. Sounds like Mark needs to read Dr. Neil Barnard's program for reversing diabetes that is 3 times more effective than any other diet plan and is based around a low-fat, whole foods vegan diet. Johnny Bowden, author of The Great Cholesterol Myth, a book which makes the ludicrous assertion that cholesterol doesn't cause heart disease. Well, it's a good thing, Johnny, that when former US President Bill Clinton developed heart disease, he didn't come and see you to reverse it. No, instead Bill Clinton went to see Dr. Cordwell Esselstyn, the world's leading heart disease expert who has been preventing and reversing heart disease with a low-fat, whole foods, plant-based diet for nearly 30 years. We recommend Johnny reads Dr. Esselson's book, Preventing and Reversing Heart Disease. Summer Bock says, studies have shown that a lack of biodiversity in the gut have been linked to obesity, diabetes and arthritis and inflammation. Yet 14 of the 15 leading causes of our death right now, including these diseases, are scientifically linked to eating animal products, not a lack of biodiversity in the gut. Antibiotics are blamed for the lack of biodiversity in our guts. Ironically, the infections they are administered to kill are caused in the first place by eating animal foods, which our bodies treat as foreign invaders and thus overwhelm our immune systems, leaving us susceptible to infection. Furthermore, 80% of the world's antibiotics are administered to livestock, which are then killed and eaten by humans. That's where the majority of antibiotics we consume come from. J.J. Virgin, author of The Virgin Diet, recommends eating animal products that are humanely raised. JJ, you need to check out humanemyth.org and this brilliant video by PETA to see that humane animal products are an oxymoronic myth. We're told we need to have raw fermented foods in our diet to promote healthy gut bacteria. But why not simply eliminate from our diet the foods that are killing our friendly gut bacteria instead? The number one source of which is animal products, given that 80% of the world's antibiotics are administered to animals, and the majority of people eating a standard Western diet are consuming these products on average 3 times a day. Lack of energy is blamed on food chemicals and other environmental toxins which disrupt our mitochondria. Sure, these things won't help. However, not getting enough sleep, not drinking enough water, and eating too much dietary fat, primarily in the form of animal products, are much greater factors, yet none of these receive a mention. Lack of production of the happy hormone serotonin and the amino acid tryptophan it is converted from is again blamed on environmental toxins. True, and animal products are by far the greatest toxin we expose ourselves to on a daily basis, and yet this fact is conveniently overlooked. Also, serotonin levels can be boosted by eating more carbs. The producers correctly point out that most genes can either be turned on or off by what we eat, how we move, and how we think. And the science shows that animal products are the number one foods to avoid if we're looking to turn off genes for chronic diseases such as cancer and diabetes. And yet, ironically, immediately after making this point, they plug Mark Sisson, author of The Primal Blueprint, a book about the Paleo diet, the current fad diet based on eating animal foods. So much emphasis is placed on the role that bacteria plays in our bodies, and yet no mention is made whatsoever of many of the world's deadliest bacteria such as E. coli, Salmonella and Campylobacter being contracted by eating animal products, because these are the very products these authors are promoting. Abel James, another paleo diet author, ironically says, we're all caged animals these days. We don't get enough sunshine or fresh air and we need to move our bodies. And this is all precisely true. However, one of the universal laws is that we reap what we sow. And therefore, if we are caging and confining animals for food, we too shall become caged animals. Mark Sisson says we need to get more sunshine, when ironically the very diet he promotes is based around eating animals, the vast majority of whom are kept in the dark their whole lives and never see the sun. Once again, we reap what we sow. Sarah Gottfried, author of The Hormone Cure, is apparently going to cure humans' hormones by selling them her chocolate bars containing dairy milk, which has between 60 and 80 naturally occurring bovine hormones, plus the additional growth hormones that cows are injected with. She cites studies linking sitting long periods with increased risks of heart disease and diabetes. That's like saying that studies show that sitting long periods increases risks of lung cancer when all of the study subjects are smokers. Yes, we weren't designed to sit for long periods, but it's the animal products laden with cholesterol, saturated fat and protein that we eat whilst we are sitting long periods that are causing our heart disease and diabetes. Natasha and I sit for long periods each day, and yet we won't develop heart disease or diabetes because it is nearly impossible to do so eating a low-fat vegan diet, no matter how long you sit for. The producers raise the question of how we are going to feed our growing population of 7 billion people, and yet the fact that we currently grow enough food to feed 10 to 15 billion people is not mentioned, and that the reason 1 billion people are starving is because 80% of US grain and 50% of world grain is fed to livestock to fatten them so that we can kill and eat them. If we fed all the grain we currently grow to humans directly, we could end world hunger today twice over. Mark Hyman propagates that we evolved eating a diet of, at the top of his list, wild animals, and that we ate much more fibre than we do today. Well, we're sorry to say, Mark, but you can't have it both ways because, newsflash, Animal products contain absolutely no fibre whatsoever. Johnny Bowden tells us that eating fat doesn't make us fat and that the real culprit is sugar. We're confused then, Johnny. Why do we call it fat if it doesn't make us fat? Make no mistake, people, when Dr. John McDougall, who has been successfully treating and reversing chronic diseases like cancer and reducing obese waistlines for decades with a low-fat vegan diet, says that the fat we eat is the fat we wear, we better listen. Paleo author Abel James tells us that because the brain is comprised of fat, that we get exceptional mental clarity when we fuel the brain with fat. Can you please explain the physiology of exactly how this works, Abel, when any medical textbook will tell you that the cells of the human brain are fueled exclusively by glucose, which is a form of sugar, not fat? That's like saying that your car is comprised of metal, so the best fuel source for your car is metal. Johnny Bowden tells us fish oil is healthy. Fish oil comes from killing a sentient fish and extracting the oil from its liver. Now, the liver is the filter of any animal, so the oil in the liver of a fish contains a cocktail of toxins, chemicals and pollutants that the fish's liver has filtered from the oceans, which we treat like a public toilet. Calling fish oil healthy is like calling night day, up down and black white. Johnny says we need protein. The problem is not are we getting enough, but rather we are getting too much, and too much of the wrong kind at that in the form of animal products. The World Health Organization states that 5 to 10% protein is all we need, and most plant foods have this amount. David Wolfe advocates getting our protein from grass-fed cattle and bison. What a champion of compassion. We've got news for you, David. It doesn't matter what animals eat, their products all contain artery-clogging fat and cholesterol and cancer-promoting animal protein. And they're not killed with loving mantras in ancient sacred shamanic ceremonies. They all get a bolt gun to their heads and a knife to their throats. Nor do they offer up their bodies to be slaughtered. If you still eat any meat whatsoever, you owe it to yourself and the animals you eat to watch this 3-minute video. Not a drop of blood is shown, but you will see that they are scared and don't want to die any more than we do. The producer incredulously says, "It's amazing to see people continue to make so many poor food choices." Is it really amazing when you consider the misinformation they are being given by films like yours? Johnny Bowden criticises government subsidies for sugar when any Google search reveals that the animal agriculture industry receives subsidies for feed grain that completely dwarf those for sugar. Sarah Gottfried criticises TV for delivering misinformation about food and sugar. Hypocrisy at its greatest right here, folks. GMOs are criticised, and so they should be, and yet the majority of GM crops are fed to animals to fatten them so that we can kill and eat them. Their solution? Buy grass-fed animal products. Watch Cowspiracy for the math on why this is not sustainable for a population of 7 billion people. David Wolfe criticises factory farms, saying that what we're looking to do is go back to the logic of the traditional family farm. Newsflash, David, factory farming techniques were developed on family farms, and it always ended the same way, with a knife to the throat. David Wolfe encourages reverence for all life, but then advocates killing grass-fed animals for food. Which is it, David? Reverence for life or killing innocent animals? Tom Maltero wants us to eat fresh, whole foods. Enlighten us, Tom, as to how the decaying body parts of dead animals can ever be fresh. Enough of these euphemisms already. The producers say, "Welcome to a brighter future." Unless you're a food animal, and then you still have a violent death to look forward to. The paleo diet is dangerous in that people eating the standard Western diet of meat, dairy, eggs and processed foods of course will feel immediately better by eliminating dairy and processed foods and thus believe that the paleo diet is healthy. But feeling better is relative and doesn't mean optimal, and any diet that still contains cholesterol, saturated fat and protein from animal products is still going to put people at unnecessary risk of developing the world's leading causes of death, like heart disease, cancer and diabetes. Not to mention the number of animals still being killed and the ongoing environmental devastation that results from eating the paleo diet. The producers correctly assert that the truth is that we have all the power and that each and every one of us makes a choice with every purchase we make. And every time we buy animal products, be they grass-fed, local, organic, free-range or whatever, we are choosing to pay someone to kill innocent, living, breathing, defenseless animals who want to live every bit as much as the cats and dogs we love and consider members of our family. Films like Origins are both highly popular and dangerous because they tell people good things about their bad habits. The three main documentaries you need to watch to understand what's going on in the world today are Forks Over Knives, Earthlings, and Cowspiracy. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.